Welcome back. This is AYV on Sunday. Let's start by apologizing for having a late start today. But we're here and your favorite show on TV is back, and we will be bringing you undiluted analysis with regards our topic of discussion for today. Now, remember, you can drop us your comments on WhatsApp. That's +232 88575742. If you're in country, it's 088575742. Drop us your comments on Facebook as well. Drop us your comments there, and we would read through them. Don't forget today to use the hashtag AYV on Sunday as well, so that we'll build a community around AYV on Sunday. And we know that when you get online and you mention AYV on Sunday, you have attraction. There's a hashtag leading you to shows, both past, present shows, and of course, shows we will do in the future. It's AYV on Sunday again, and my name is John Conte. Thank you very much for joining us. In the studio this evening, I'd like to welcome Mr. Kalilu Tutangi. He is, of course, a very strong and popular voice when it comes to national issues, having been the chairman of NASID. He's also with us in the studio this evening. Kalilu, welcome to AYV on Sunday.
Thanks for having me.
I would also like to welcome lawyer Rashid Doumbouya. He is a known voice and a public advocate as well, who has added his voice to several social and national issues. Lawyer Rashid Doumbouya is the chairman for Legal Link. He was also a former commissioner for Human Rights Commission. Lawyer Rashid Doumbouya, welcome to AYV on Sunday.
So I'm grateful. Thanks for having me.
Now, don't forget to drop us your comments, as I mentioned, to the WhatsApp number. You can 088575742. If you're watching us or listening to us across the globe, due to +232 88575742. To our viewers across the globe on DSTV channel 399, on Facebook, and of course on channel 33 and 34, watching us in country, you can drop us your comments. Now, we're starting off this way by introducing what we call the highlights of the week for the guests that will be coming to the studio. Commissioner Rashid, I would like to start off with you. Tell us your, it's been quite an eventful week, but I don't want to mention the highlights, but I would like to hear from you. What have been the highlights for you so far this week?
I think it would be better to start with the government man themselves.
No, it's deliberate. No, it's deliberate, Commissioner Rashid, to have you go first.
You have an eye on the government.
All right, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. As always, AYV, this is good. You create a platform for CSOs and government actors to have a space to hold critical conversations regarding governance, democracy, rule of law, respect for human rights. So that's a good one. And AYB on Sunday is a unique program indeed. And thanks, John, for holding the fort so far. Yes, I'm here. I'm happy to be here. I represent the civil society, and I head the organization called Legal Link. It's a legal-based organization that defends the rights of vulnerable groups in Sierra Leone. Yes, a few highlights. We are looking and we are studying. Quite recently, we heard about the purchase of some buses. I think Tag Waka Fine also, and the also measures that we are taking by the Ministry of Transport in terms of getting them their own unique, routes in the country in terms of transportation and traveling, and the implication that is also having in a few areas where these routes have been designated. So we are looking at that closely. We receive a lot of complaints regarding the same. So perhaps in the not too distant future, we'll be reaching out to the relevant authorities on how we could deal with this issue, because in our preliminary findings, it is clear that many of those communities are currently being affected. And the idea of having the bus is good, and we all know the challenges in terms of transportation, no doubt. But when we bring them in our country, we also must understand that it's a free market system we are operating, and a democratic nation, so rights have to be respected. You don't also float policies that seems to, in a way, interfere with the enjoyment of rights. So we are looking at even the case of right to move, freedom of movement. Is what we are looking at the moment, because
what are you looking at when it comes to freedom of movement?
Yes. So if you design or float a policy or a regulation that tend to limit movement, it could either be by through vehicular, through pedestrian, without necessarily having a situation where there is a need for an emergency, then it perhaps, might be interplaying with fundamental human rights. And that's what we are looking at. So when we reach our conclusion on our opinion, and if it's clear that it doesn't meet the threshold, we'll have to make a public position on this, and even write perhaps to the minister. Because the fact is this: the routes that other vehicles are using now, there are a lot of inconveniences also that is putting on the border. On the public means of transportation, and fuel cost, and also increased costs for passengers as well, because they will have to go through some more longer routes. So we are looking at all of these things and see how we can advise, because I believe perhaps it was done in good faith, but now the realities show that the burden is really on a few people that are living in these routes in terms of accessing transportation and even coming early to work. Because in some instances, the Wakafine buses will have been filled before they get to their place, and then how will they now take transport to come? These are all the things we are looking at. So it's important that perhaps we try to expand our country. It's not really a bad idea to have streets designated for public transport, but then in a situation where we don't have much, and our country is quite tight, the city is tight in terms of space, we have to also understand this dynamic. So it's a key issue that we are studying. And perhaps one of the conclusions we're making is, if you want to really get people to rush in your means of transportation, the surest way to deal with it is to reduce the price. It's not really to design a route path.
So comparatively,
yes, when you reduce the price.
Comparatively, are you saying that it's in fact higher than what is prevailing at the moment?
Yeah.
From post to post with we are
even studying on that as well. We are asking a lot of questions around the stations that are designed and also other means of transportation. But I'm saying if really the means of transportation should be the first priority, usually the surest way of attracting that influx of population is to reduce the price. That's the law of demand. If the price is down, then you know what will happen. All right. So, but we are studying it, like I said. There are a little complaints coming out regarding movement, and we are looking at and see whether in fact it gets to the threshold. Then we have to make a position on that.
Is that the only highlight for you for this week?
Yeah, I think that captured a lot, and there was one issue. Of course, the trials are still going on in terms of the treason trials and all of that. I mean, the number 26, attempted failed coup. The trials are also going on, and we are following up on that as well. And of course, we also, of course, learned about the ECOWAS situation with former president. It's quite an old news now, but it's key. The effects are still here with us, and we're following that as well gradually to see what the dynamics are. But I think the Wakafine, swallowed the entire movement.
The oxygen in the room.
All right, Kalilu, your turn. What has been your highlight for this week?
I'm not going to be as nuanced as my colleague here. The Wakafine, the rollout has been a complete mess. The intention of government and our partners, remember now, this was a grant that was given to us because everybody knows all of the congestion. We need to move our people to work and back is more easily than it's been done already. So the government's idea of the IROM, public education has been zero. And the people didn't even know what the real price is, because I was telling my wife, that no, the ticket was for a whole day. It's a 12-hour ticket because somebody posted that right ahead of even the agency, and we all took that and ran away with it, only for them to come back and tell us, no, it's just for just one use. It's 10 euros. No, it's not right. I don't think it is right because there was a grant given to us to ease our people's movement in the city. And so it's not like somebody wants to make a head-to-head profit, as they would say in my neighborhood. This is something that is supposed to cushion the problem of transportation for our people. So whoever is in charge, I'll urge them to go back and to the drawing board and educate the people about what this is and how it could be done. The issue of banning public transport on the route from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. is a no-brainer as far as we are concerned. Because if you are talking about, yes, the ambulance, for instance, should have preference, dedicated route. Yes, the public transport bus should have dedicated road, priority use, because it's a mass transit vehicle. But in a situation where we don't have as many rules or the capacity to accommodate that, we should have some understanding. Why don't you say, okay, between 6 and 9 a.m., when is the rush hour, we want you to dedicate those roads to the public, the mass transit buses. From 4 to 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., which is also another rush hour, we want you to dedicate that road to mass transit. But to say blankets, nobody uses that road. I don't think they have anywhere in the books that gives them the right to do that. So I expect that citizens groups, lawyers groups should challenge. That's what is the beauty of democracy. Challenge that, let them explain where they got the right to do that.
But I think Rashid mentioned that they're looking at finding a way to talk about the
but the more they allow this thing to drag out, people are complaining, and nobody is coming out to say what is the real thing. It's not good for the health of our democracy. Government has the heart in the right place to ensure that we want to have these buses to cushion the effect of the transport crisis that our people are facing. But people who are rolling out have got it wrong in some places. They should go back to the drawing board and sit down and work it out. And so I saw the other day some group of KK guys were trying to stage a stand-up on the issue. But I understand they are part of the group. The KK Riders Association, the Motor Drivers Association, the Transport Owners Association, they are all part of this group that has been set up to run these buses. Government has leased the ownership to them. So if they are doing it wrong, we should not just say government. Government has called them in so that they can be useful partners in this process. Let us sit them down and ask them, what are you really doing? What is the efficacy of what you're doing? So now it's not only the Ministry of Transport, or SLRTC. It is a new group that comprises of everybody, including civil society groups. Now that government has been magnanimous enough to bring them on the table, let them use the table well.
Now, you mentioned public education, which was really, really extremely poor. We only saw notices on social media. I for one did not hear any PSA on radio.
I think that's completely nonsense. We as an institution had given them a proposal for public education. They disregarded it. They wanted it their own way, and they did it their own way. We are a government institution.
So is there an assumption that most of the commuters are people on social media? Is it why?
No, but we know the commuters actually. The people who go for those public transports, they are not on social media. They are in communities. So you have to take public education to them in their communities, in the languages that they understand. Yeah? So you don't just do a flyer and send it on social media and I expect that people will understand. Even as educated as I am, and I'm in government as well, I didn't know. I was even peddling fake news to my wife and my family about what is the pricing of that, because I didn't know as well. So if they had taken the public approach, there is the national broadcaster, SIBC. It doesn't have to be NACSID. The Ministry of Information and Civic Education are doing very well. They have reduced their public education.
Can it be rectified? Is it too late? Do they still have enough window to be able to do that?
It's not too late. They have to come home.
Okay.
They have to come home and look at where have we gone wrong. Let them be honest with themselves. We don't want no stonewalling. Oh yeah, Mr. Tutange went on TV and criticized us. Yes, it's my business to criticize people because that's my job, so that people can understand what is going on. You know, I'm also government, but government gives me a role to be a check on what is going on. And what has gone on so far as worker force bosses are concerned is not good. It's not making government look good even.
Not making government look good. Well, that's the highlight for this week from the guests. Gentlemen, this is how we're going to roll out for this evening. Now, we're going to talk about the constitutional review. There have been several attempts to have it reviewed. There have been, white papers done and presented. Most of it have not been approved. Now, let's start off by talking about where we are now as far as that process is concerned. Kalilu, I'll start off with you. You have 2 minutes to make a position on that, and then I'll go over to Lawyer Rashid. Now, but whilst Kalilu is making his submission, Rashid, I'll kindly ask that you hold your peace so that he goes through making his submission. And then
I'm not going to spar with him. I'm just going to state what is. Now, the issue is constitutional review has been on for the longest time in this country. It started with President Kaba and the Talker Constitutional Review Commission, and they brought some advisory to government under former President Koma. He disregarded it. Nothing came to light on that. Then later on, he set up an elaborate one that many civil society groups, people were involved with it, with the venerable Justice Khan. They did a pretty job. All of us who were involved in the media, following what they were doing, they did a very pretty job. They looked at all of the lacuna in our constitution, all of the rough edges, and in a public way, they came to it and they made a representation to government. And as Kumar's government under the APC, they disregarded that as well. Now, in Bill's inning, they cherry-picked on some of the issues that they wanted to take on, and they tried to implement those. There were others that they left out, which in the views of several of us, they were supposed to have a strong head on. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Now, after the 2023 elections, the opposition cried foul about a number of things, and they thought they could have done. But these were not in the Constitution. For instance, they were asking the electoral laws of, even in 2012, the electoral laws of 2022, they wanted, they should publish, the ECS should publish the names of people who voted at something like that. A really elaborate thing. They wanted polling station by polling station. That was not provided for in our Constitution. So ECS couldn't do it. They didn't do it. So they were up in arms on that, and it's carried on for some time with their protest about the outcome of that election. No, fine. Together with our international partners, they have decided now that they should do a review of the electoral laws. I'm not sure it's the Constitution proper that they are looking at. The lawyer here can educate us. But the electoral laws, they want to look at that, and which is a fine thing. To review if there's a lacuna in your laws that will create tension like the way it did when some sector of the parliament refused to come in. If that would help the situation, why not? The country should grow. If there are things that you find out is not good for the health of your democracy, you can look at them. That what is really disappointing in all of this is that it's two political parties, one in government, one out of government. They are the ones that are sitting. Even when some institutions as vital as mine, who's what can I say, the interlocutor between government and the people, they now say, no, we don't want NACSID or no other human rights commission. We only want the two political parties, the one that is in government, that's the one that is out of government. I think that is wrong. We should have a seat at the table so that we can advise, we can profile advice. We can come to the people, they can tell us what they actually want to see happen to them. But for them to just go between the two of them and decide this is what we want to do so that it will make it easier to replace you, or it will make it easier for you to stay in place, I think that is wrong.
Who is attempting to exclude?
You heard it in public media when the opposition said they don't want any third party. the only one international community. Yeah, the international community, the one international community. But their context.
But why are they insisting on not having any third party for
civil society? We are not even third party. We are the bigger party, because between the two political parties, they don't even count for 1 million of the population of this country. Registered party members of this country, they don't count for 1 million. So that's less than 20% of the people of Sierra Leone. But the people of Sierra Leone rely on civil society. The people of Sierra Leone rely on institutions like mine or the Human Rights Commission to look at those issues that they care about, so that we can articulate them publicly, like I'm doing today. But the All People's Congress, the main opposition party, denied us the presence on the table. They don't want us to be on the table because they want it between them and the government and the international community, whose perspectives and of the context of where all of these things are happening is very minimal.
Could there be an agenda? Could there be an agenda that they wish to pursue in that direction?
I wouldn't know. But this week, I understand that they are rolling out the TOR, the terms of reference of this review committee. We are looking forward to that, and we want to look at what's in there, whether it reflects the best interests of the people. If it doesn't, we will speak about it, and the people will know. So that's what we are talking about. Yes, it's a very important thing for us as a nation to look at some of the hurdles that we have in terms of the free flow of our democracy, but to say that political parties, entrenched political parties, can determine who will sit at the table to make those negotiations, I think is utterly wrong.
All right, let me go back to you, Lawyer Rashid Doumbouya. Let's talk about where we are at the moment. Mr. Tutangi mentioned that he is not quite sure whether it's the whole, holistic review that's happening. It might perhaps just zoom in on the electoral laws, as he mentioned. Commissioner Rashid.
Yes. So I'm happy to talk about this. But let me just zero a little about the Khalid Tutangi's admission and frankness in terms of the Waka Fine issue. And definitely we will be reaching out to the Ministry of Transport with an opinion regarding this matter in the not too distant future. But then let me be clear that when we talk about constitutional review or repeal, as the case may be, it's not something that we should be, how can I call it, secret about. If you are trying to touch on the gunman, remember the Constitution is the gunman. It's the highest law of the land. You have to, it's the law that protects our rights. There's no other law that really encompasses all our rights like the Constitution. So it's the people's law, and if you want to touch that law, you have to let the people know and involve the people. That's the right approach in doing same. Progressive countries that have reviewed constitutions have taken that path, and their constitutions have even, stood test of time. Because, for example, South Africa, since 1996, when they had their progressive constitution, up to date, the constitution is still progressive, and many people are really happy about it. But then, the issue of constitutional development could be traced as far back as 1924. When we had the discussion to have a constitution, development history. So it's not a new thing. Constitutional repeal and amendments have taken place since 1924. We even had later the 1951 Constitution. We had the 1961 Independence Constitution. We had the 71 Republican Constitution. And then we had the 78 Constitution. And now we are dealing with the 1991 Multi-Party Democratic Constitution. So we have evolved. With time, Sierra Leone has seen a lot of phases in terms of constitutional changes and repeals. But then the 1991 Constitution seems to really have outlived its usefulness. And we are all concerned why the delay by successive governments in at least trying to give us a new constitution?
Contention? I mean, for some of our audience who might be watching or hearing about the review for the first time, it's been long in the works, as we mentioned. You have mentioned already several other reviews that are being done. But what are the major issues or contentious issues contained hearing that needs to be looked at? Yes. Within this constitution.
So, and that's really the approach that is a little bit uncomfortable for some of us, because we believe already there is a proposed draft. So really, government should not even be wasting time now. We have two. We have the Peter Tucker's draft, and we have the Justice Cowan's draft. They are all late people now, but we are grateful for the work they did. All right. So under Chijan Kaba and under Anesbai Kuroma, SDP and APC, works have been done already that we are very comprehensive in their outlook and involving. All right. So that could be the baseline. All right. I'm not sure much could be done per se. Again, that is new. All right. We have exhausted the review. It's there. The document is there. So it's about just trying to now progressively realize it. And it's a bold step. And I've argued severally in many forums that any government that will deliver on this, these are the things that will make people change their hearts and minds and stay you in power and your party. I don't know, the governments don't understand the issues that really are in the heart of society. This constitution, any government that will give us a new constitution, that government will reward it.
Have you seen the reviewed copy? Have you seen
yeah, so that's what I said in my earlier comment, that we don't need to be secret about it. So we came to learn about a work that is currently being done when Carl invited us to some launching of a small draft and a proposed draft that the government is looking at. Of rejections. So we were also surprised about that. So wow, so something has been done quietly, and we don't even know about it.
So is it really the constitution in totality, or the?
Yeah, so it's like some recommendations that we have put forward, and perhaps the position of government in terms of rejections or acceptance to those recommendations. It's a booklet form that is applied to us. So we are concerned because we believe it should be an open process. Because already, like I said, we have a baseline, all right? We can start from there and then perhaps put new things that we believe are evolving and I imagine, so that at the very least we have a progressive constitution. If we can change the constitution, I'm telling you, Sierra Leone will be in a new phase. We need, in my view, we need an entire repeal. We want a new constitution. If we go back to amendments, we will still have the purport and spirit of this old constitution, which we now know is troublesome. And it's very, very inconsistent with the realities of our democratic society and aspirations. So, no doubt, it's a beginning.
Why are you suggesting a complete repeal, Lawyer Rashid?
Yeah, because there are many, many things we have now seen. And the Cowan, draft revealed clearly to us that, in fact, there were many in wordings, in ambiguity. All right, so don't get me wrong. It's not like a bad constitution, extra bad constitution. It's just that there are challenges in terms of words and their interpretations. A constitution must be clear. We don't want the gonum to be difficult interpretation and create, ambiguities, such that governments and even the courts are at loggerheads in terms of interpreting them. So let's have a document that is clear.
Would there ever be a time when government and the courts would not be at loggerhead, really, when it comes to interpreting legal instruments? I mean, as it with the Constitution of Sierra Leone.
As long as the word "shall" is in it.
Well, it's not so much about "shall," and the question remains: a constitution should be so simple. If they're making constitution, they are making constitution. You can even put it in your pocket. You've seen the South African constitution; you can carry them in your pocket. It's a very small, tiny piece. So they are in simple, plain language. However, the courts have a duty to interpret the constitution. But the ordinary man should be able to also look at that. It's a document for the people. But if it's so complex and it's so ambiguous, it could even be an eyesore. Many Christians don't even want to go to the constitution because it's so bulky and so confusing. So we have to also watch that. If we are doing a new constitution, we have to make sure it's reader-friendly. People should be able to go to the constitution all the time and enjoy reading it. All right, that's how it is in the American Constitution. It's so awesome. But then if we want to put everything inside and make it so voluminous, I'm telling you, many people will not, even elites in our country today, many don't know the provisions.
Isn't that a way to keep citizens from accessing that document, reading it, because language contained in it, would make you want to grab a dictionary to get meanings and context before reading the Constitution.
Some condescending thing they say about us, they say if you want to hide something from Mr. Leone and just put it in a book because they say we don't have the culture of reading. Possibly true, but again, back to the issue that we were discussing. You asked my friend here a very pertinent constitution. Is it the whole of the constitution that is about to be looked at, or is it a review of the electoral laws that we're not clear about? I'm personally not clear about that because all of the discussion I've had is about the electoral laws.
But again, why is it being done in bits when it can actually be done? I mean, as with all the reviews done on it.
I know. I mean, the presidency, the president has been very magnanimous in that area by even saying that yes, we have to get this dialogue, we have to look at this. He has opened these doors, but again, there are parties to this. We have the opposition that is the party. What are they actually seeking? What clarification are they actually seeking? What questions are they asking of our constitution? We're not clear on that as of yet. You know, and what is it that how far is the government willing to go? What are they willing to accept in all of this probing that is going to go on? We're not even clear about that. But again, we give them the benefit of the doubt. They say they are coming to us this week with a TOR so that we will now know what they are about. But again, by way of trying to influence that TOR, what we are saying is there has to be...
Who is coming out with the TOR, terms of reference?
The co-chairs, the
tripartite committee.
The tripartite committee, yes. The co-chairs, the government chair,
but their responsibility would not be around the entire constitution. It would be only around the electoral laws.
But we don't know that yet. That's what I was thinking. That's what I was asking my colleague here.
But based on the communique signed, Rashid, wasn't that what was mentioned, that a committee would be set up to look at, the
electoral law?
It's basically the electoral landscape. It's not necessarily the review of the constitution.
Yeah, so basically it's the electoral laws that we're looking at. So that's what that committee is dedicated to. Now, do we want it to be broadened up to include other issues about rights, about citizenship, about a number of other issues that came up especially in the Edmund Cowan recommendations that went to government. Government accepted a lot of these things, but again, progressive minds, we are looking at other things that we thought the government could have included. Government did not. So if government has now opened a window of opportunity for us to have a second look at those things, perhaps these are issues other than always arguing about APC, SLPP. These are issues of grand interest to the whole nation that we should begin to talk about as people in the public space. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't think it is the right thing to do, even by international partners, to only encourage two political parties, one in government and one out of government, to go out there and discuss the future of our democracy all by themselves. I think that is wrong.
Now, this might be a rather simplistic question, but it's worth asking. What is stopping any of our leaders, past and present, or what stopped past, and what is stopping our present leader from taking a decision and saying, listen, let's get the Constitution reviewed holistically, let's have it go through the processes, and I'll give my assent to it. Rashid, and then...
Yes, so I believe there is the politics around constitutional amendments and reviews, all right? And it's not akin to even just our nation. That's why South Africa will forever be grateful for Mandela. So it's to have a new constitution in any nation, it will require a lot of leadership, political will. All right. So Mandela displayed that, and when they had the 1996, constitution, they saw a path. In fact, the constitution is so unique that they have a preamble. And I remember I took some elements of that preamble when I gave my paper to the Justice Cowan Committee, that our constitution, the new one, must have a preamble. When you look at the South African constitution, the preamble clearly tells the history. So it's saying we, the people of South Africa, having gone through the ugly past of apartheid, have resolved to now have a new constitution, a new South Africa. So when even the judges will interpret the constitution, they will now understand from the preamble where the country had been and where it is aspiring to be. So that's why when the Constitutional Court of South Africa interpret the Constitution, they will always refer the preamble that the people of South Africa came together, having gone through the pains and agonies of apartheid. They have now settled that this will never happen again in their nation, and they are planning a constitution to change the ugly past and give them a better life. So because the preamble is okay, sets the stage for interpretation. So a judge will never interpret constitution and now go back to the past, the ugly past, all right, and then start legitimizing it again. So even the preamble creates some spiritual, injection into the whole document. That is lacking in our Nigerian constitution, and this is scary. A constitution must have, even the U.S. constitution, it's there. We the people of America, we resolve. You will see the wordings upon the founding fathers as to how they got to the document. So when the court sits on it, they will always mention the founding fathers, that this was the idea of the founding fathers as they drafted this law, to keep this country together. No racism and the like. All right? Everybody should live in this one-pot nation. So that is the spirit. And today we're seeing many jurisprudence coming from that flow. They mentioned the founding fathers, that this was not what our founding fathers envisaged. That's how we do constitution. We have to get to a place where people will now own it, and we swore on it that this forever will be our guiding principle. And we don't want a constitution where a country where will be divided anymore. So the issue of tribe, regionalism is coming up, politics. So how do we now factor a constitution that holds the balance, south and east, north and west? We need a constitution that will dissipate that tension, all right, and have clear cause that no government should come in and float policies that engenders the divide, all right? It will be an abrogation of the constitution, and the court must hit hard on such government. But we need a progressive constitution. So I think the willingness, and we have seen this from both past and present government, we have not seen the willingness as such to have a new constitution. I mean, we are making attempts to have piecemeal, amendments, but that is not what we really need. Remember, we had 24, we had 51, we had 61, we had 71, we had 78 and 1991. Why can't we have a new constitution?
And it's been 33 years.
Quite a long time from now. So I don't understand what is happening, but this is a concern because we have to set the trajectory and the stage for a transformed nation. All right. Then that one question is really it's about its usefulness. It's been a long time. We have a whole repeal, and we are calling for this to happen. And if this president gives us that, I'm telling you, it will really, really put him in a very good light in terms of history and even in our constitutional jurisprudence down the line.
I mean, from indications, there's a possibility he might give, having abolished the death penalty and repealed the 1965 Public Order Act as well, Kalilu and Lawyer Rashid. I mean, so that's why I asked, what is stopping our president and the government at the moment from having that review done and taking it through?
Look at what they call themselves. It's a tripartite committee for electoral systems and management bodies review. That's narrow. That's how narrow this is. And so basically, it's about who gets power, or how do they get there, how somebody ensures that nobody is cheated out of power as they claim as politicians. But that's not what this country is looking at. That's not what we actually need. Unfortunately, even when the U.S. representative to the UN came, she dished out money, $1.5 million, to this process, which is a tripartite electoral.
But it seems that it has the loudest, most amplified noise around it, Kalilu.
Because
therefore it got all the attraction.
That's what it is normally. Because the bigger your platform, the louder you get. But that's what really happened. That money was gained traction. People say, "Oh, she came and she did this and all of that." But is that what is the message of this country? Is that what really our problem is? Because one political party cried foul after the last election, and everybody hyped it. And I even see some congressmen, senators, even wrote memos without context. They don't really understand the real deal on the ground. They were writing frivolous statements about the state of the country and all of that. And they hyped it so much, we nearly missed out on going into a very nasty war on our own ground because of all of these misunderstandings. But I agree. I give credit to the president for agreeing that we should have this tripartite discussion. But what I'm only saying is that not the government and the opposition party are enough to look at this issue. They are not enough all by themselves to look at this issue because they don't form a majority of who have a vested interest in the way our electoral system works. Because, I mean, as I always said, even when we sat on the steering committee for the elections, I told my international partners, elections is about the people of Sierra Leone. They are the ones who have a mandate that they want to give one of the contesting political parties. But now, if you say you are going to look at what the political parties think and what is their interest in how they can win elections without regarding what the people generally think about the whole thing, then we are missing everything. We are missing everything. And so I will have reason to think that our international partners should be more consultative across the board with the civil society groups, with other media groups.
But how do you expect? For one, I'm very concerned about how attenuated in terms of the voice and the noise that that civil society. The civil society space used to have in the past. These are issues they could have been trumpeting. They could have been on the mountains, in the valleys, in the oceans, making noise about it to say that this cannot happen without having CSO participation in a process like this.
I'm even surprised that I'm the one who's raising this when I'm sitting here with
So what's happening to the space? What's happening to them?
The space has been corroded by I'm very sorry to say, because people now begin to think that the civil society groups who should have a fair knowledge of these issues, who understand the context, who should stand right in the middle, are finding linkages in places. So they are not worried as long as some people feel advantaged that they are going to be sitting at the table. Civil society is ceding that space to them to sit there and discuss things in their own interest, and we forget about the mass of everybody else. But I think that is wrong. I really think that is wrong. I believe that if it comes to a vote, they who are in the committee can vote. But when it comes to ideas, these people don't have monopoly of the ideas of this country. For goodness sake, they don't. It's not that the people who are in those committees, 7 from SLPP or government of Sierra Leone and 7 from APC, they are not necessarily the brightest people in this country. They are not necessarily people who know better than all of us what is happening in this country. So they should now be willing to hear other ideas. Then they can munch it among themselves and say, okay, well, so this is what came out. Okay, we will now take this, we will not take that. Let's vote on this, let's vote on that. We will look at them, they will have their own vote. But we should have a say in that discussion because there is so much we have to add to it. There's so much we have to add to it because there has been a plain level of misinformation from the beginning. People were saying that ECSL cheated because they didn't post the polling station by polling station numbers. But we all know that when the votes are counted at polling stations, the results are given to polling agents of all the parties in those polling stations. So if that is an issue that you want to bring into the electoral laws, let us be there and look at it plainly. It should not be just an APC SLPP issue. That's disingenuous.
Rashid, it should not just be an APC SLPP issue. But hold on, I'll come right back to you. We need to go for a quick break. But I'll come back right to you, Rashid. Make note of that. In case you're just joining us, you're watching us wherever you're watching us from. This is AYV on Sunday. Drop us your comments. Use the hashtag if you're on social media, AYV on Sunday. So type out the hash key and then AYV on Sunday, right as one word. So we would get traction and have a community on social media. Now, if you're also watching us from across the globe and would love to drop us a comment, but you are not on Facebook, you could do on WhatsApp. +232 8857 5742 is the number. Do us a favor, indicate your name and where you are sending us your comment from, and would love to read through them. Most definitely, we have time for your comments on the show, and we'll get to that. Once we get to that, Salifu Channel Kamal would be with us in the studio to help us read through your comments. We will be coming right back after this quick break and be ready to drop your comments. And of course, the guests will continue to be with us in the studio. This is AYV on Sunday. We're going for this quick break, and we'll be right back. President Leone in his second term as we post confidence in many young people. This is AYV on Sunday. In case you're just joining us, wherever you're watching us from, online or in country, please drop us a comment if you can on Facebook. Use the hashtag AYV on Sunday. If you're dropping us a comment on WhatsApp, the number is +232 88575742. Send us a comment and mention your name and where exactly you're sending us the comment from. In the studio, I still have my guest, Khalil Tutangi from NACID, who is a very vibrant voice and advocate of for the citizens. And also in the studio as well, we have Commissioner Rashid. Well, I like calling him Commissioner Rashid instead of Lawyer Rashid, but he's with us as well in the studio. He is founding member and owner of an organization called Legal Link. Now let's get back to business, Rashid. Khalil was saying that this shouldn't be an APC-SLPP business as far as the review is concerned. But we can only preempt what the terms of reference would be, because it has not been released, and it will be released only then would we be able to zoom in on it and be able to bring thorough analysis as to what their roles and responsibilities would be.
Yes, so and I agree with him largely, because constitutional reviews really should be, engendered by civil society. In many of the progressive countries that have reviewed their constitutions, Africa, Kenya reviewed has in 2010. Okay, it was a civil society-led agitation that gave rise to the review. So it's ironical that it's not happening in my nation. CSOs are a little bit not like much interest is not seen around these issues. A few CSOs are really talking about it, and it should concern everyone.
But CSOs were interested in the past.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So I'm just saying, I don't know why is the cavalier attitude, where is it coming from? I don't understand. There are many things that are happening that we are not talking about, and we should be interested in this one in particular, because it has to do with our people, our lives, all right? So it's not about APC or SLP. It's a national document. It's something that must interest us. We must demand for openness in the review and involvement by experts, by human rights, lawyers, people with constitutional expertise. Because it's not a document that you can just get 1 or 2 people on the table and then you do. You have to involve experts. There are constitutional law experts who studied constitutionalism. They can give their informed view. You have to involve also interest groups. For example, the women, the disabled. They must all have a voice. They must push in part. That's what happened in the Justice Kawan Commission. That's why I'm saying that draft is unique, because in a way the whole country was involved in getting that document together. So that should be a baseline.
But why has it not been considered? Previous former president,
the very government that did the work abandoned it. All right. So surprisingly, and now we have a new government who's also not really taking that work, with the.
Although they took some pass.
It's that's what I'm saying. It's not supposed to be a piecemeal approach.
Why take bits and parts?
It's not a piecemeal approach. If we're going to agree
when taxpayers' money was spent on getting this committee, sit and meet every time, why take bits and parts?
That was really an important committee. That's why all of these things need a public voice. I've asked questions about that. There are a number of other areas, for instance, in that review of the Constitution. It was very progressive, like Rashid said, but it committed government to doing things, for instance, that the government didn't consider that they had the wherewithal to do. And these are very understandable things. You can't commit government to do something in the constitutional review process that government cannot do. That is understandable. But these are things that have to be explained to the people in the public. So that people can understand, we are not just deciding we are not using this. Yeah, we cannot use it because if it says the rights of citizens to ABCD, it requires government to put tangibles in place for these things to happen, and government cannot, by our financial standing, meet them. So therefore, government is going to sidestep these ones. But there are other things that the government needed to include that I'm not sure they did. But on the whole, the mere fact that the current government considered that document, which was a very progressive document that Justice Kawan left with us as a nation, considered elements of it. They took some, they didn't take some. It was now hell-bent on us as citizens groups to continue advocacy on some of those progressive elements that we thought we should have been included in that document that were not at the time. Unfortunately, we dropped the ball on that. All of us as citizens have dropped the ball on that. But if it's coming up again, it's a good thing to discuss. But what I want us to understand, what I want our viewers to understand,